And welcome to the regular council meeting for District of Summerland for April the 9th. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. And can I have a motion to adopt the minutes of Committee of the Whole March 26th, special meeting March 26th, and regular council meeting March 26th, please? Councillor Boot, Councillor Peak, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Now we have 2.2, the public hearing report for March 26th. CL, just for adoption.
Oh, yeah, that's just minutes.
So, someone bring that forward, please. Councillor Barkwell, thank you. Second, Councillor Peak. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Now, the complicated part.
Yes, there are a few.
Resolution to adopt the agenda.
Yes, there are a few proposed amendments to the agenda due to various circumstances. Item 12.4 is being suggested now as a delegation to be 5.1 because we have two persons from MNP to actually speak to the audited financial statements, Darcy Haw and Caroline Gillis. 12.4 becomes 5.1, a delegation. Yeah. So all the discussion will occur at that item. There are two late items as well, suggested as 9.2, which is regarding skate park construction. The second late item, suggested as 13.1, is a mining referral notice. Also note that item 14.5 is a financial plan bylaw, which during the publication of the agenda was missing the schedules, which are the most important part. So the online agenda has been amended, and on your table is a full printed copy of the bylaw with the schedules. And finally, note that all items under section 11, it's 11 through 11.1 all the way through to 11.5, were actually supposed to be highlighted as they are available for public comment during the public comment opportunity. So any of the items under section 11 in public are welcome to speak to during item 6, the public opportunity for speak. And that is everything suggested to be amended.
Thank you. Hey, Council, could we have a resolution to adopt the agenda as amended, please? Councillor Peak, Councillor Barkwell, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
May I make just a comment on those amendments? Just for clarification on the yellow highlighting and those 11 to 11.4 and 5. As you know, we don't yellow highlight everything that's a bylaw, so most of the time when it's a rezoning or a development variance or something, they're yellow highlighted and they're not, and we don't have comment at the beginning of the meetings. But we're now following our development procedures bylaw, which means that they come to council before there's a bylaw attached to them. So when you see the items, they are just here to say, yes, we've got the application and please proceed in processing them. So they're not yet a bylaw, so we do suggest that they should be yellow highlighted.
Okay. So we've done the adoption, the amended agenda. Okay, we're moving on to public and statutory hearings. And we have a public hearing for official community plan bylaw amendment, bylaw number 2018-004, and zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw 2018-005. So I'm calling the public hearing to order for those bylaws, and I'll now outline the public hearing process. This public hearing is being held pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act. During this public hearing, anyone who believes that his or her interest is affected by the proposed development will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaws that are the subject of this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the subject bylaws have been made available to the public. Council may ask questions of staff and public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate on the bylaw will take place when the bylaw is considered after the conclusion of the public hearing. At that time, only any questions of staff will be for clarification purposes only. I'll be inviting the public to come forward and present their comments. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record. Speakers are encouraged to limit their remarks to 5 minutes and should include all of the relevant information in their presentation. Further opportunity will be afforded for all persons to speak a second or third time once all persons have an opportunity to speak. Now ask the Director of Development Services to introduce the item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As noted, it's an OCP amendment bylaw as well as a rezoning bylaw for property at 20401 Highway 40. The OCP amendment is to redesignate the property from open to agriculture, as well as the rezoning bylaw to rezone it from forest grazing to A2 agricultural large acreage. The rezoning and OCP amendment is for a portion of the property, not the entire property. The portion being redesignated and rezoned is on the left-hand side of the screen. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Have we had any correspondence?
No correspondence has been received.
Okay, thank you. Would the proponent like to come forward? No? Okay, I'd like to ask for the first time anybody in attendance to present their views. Would like to come forward, please?
I'm sorry. I didn't really hear what you said, except I'm here. What would you, you wanted comments
Well,
on this or
You
what?
could present any comments you have on the item and just give
Oh,
your name
thank
and
you.
address. And
Thank
then
you very
we'll go
much.
ahead.
This property has been in our family since 1972. It was originally agriculture and actually in the agricultural land reserve. The land we didn't get to develop for quite some time, and in the meantime, it had been taken out of the reserve and wasn't even agriculture anymore. It was forestry, grazing, and anyway, we didn't have any particular plans at that point because I hadn't even built there yet. I just felt that with my family growing up and some of them wanting to come back to Summerland, some of them actually wanting to work on the land, to have garden on our property. And when all this sort of began, then we started looking into seeing if we could have a chance to rezone it back. And also, there was a matter of having a small house, modular home for farm help, and also for me to have a close neighbor, being out there basically by myself. And so that was, I don't think I mentioned it anywhere, but that was kind of another consideration. And I would just like to have this land recognized for agriculture and something that we could hand on to our children, and some of whom want to farm. And anyway, thank you.
Could you, just before you leave, could you give us your name and address?
I'm sorry. Sandra Johnson, 20401 Highway 40,
Okay,
Summerland.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, for a second time, would anybody like to come forward and present their views? Okay, and for a third time, would anybody like to come forward and present their comments? Hearing none, Council, can I have a motion to adjourn the public meeting, please, or public hearing? Councilor Peak, Councilor Holmes, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, moving forward to our delegations. our CFO, would you introduce our auditors, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Prior to introducing the auditors, I have a couple comments to make about the statements and the auditors. And the auditors will speak more to their audit approach. So the district's 2017 financial statement audit has been completed by MNP, and they are prepared to issue an unqualified audit report. However, prior to the issuance of their report, Canadian auditing standards require that those with recognized authority take responsibility for the financial statements. And in this instance, the authority lies with council. And that's why the recommendation before council this evening is that the 2017 audited financial statements for the District of Summerland be approved. Now, Darcy Haw and Carolyn Gillis are here today from MNP to discuss their audit of the district's financial statements and answer any audit-related questions that council may have. Now, prior to handing things over to them, I just wanted to quickly summarize at a very high level the 2017 financial statements for council. Overall, the district's financial position strengthened in 2017. Financial assets have increased $2.3 million, while financial obligations have decreased $550,000. Looking at specific indicators, the district's net debt has decreased $2.8 million from 2016 levels. Two largest factors driving the decrease were the district's overall surplus of $10.3 million, which was offset by the net change between the district's capital asset acquisitions and amortization, which was $7.7 million. Reserves levels have also increased $600,000 up to $18.8 million, and debt was reduced by $2.1 million, leaving the district's outstanding debt balance of $19.7 million. So all in all, 2017 continued to show improved financial results, as well as a strengthened financial position for the district, which has been a positive trend over the past few years. So now I would like to turn it over to Darcy and Carolyn to talk about the MNP's audit approach.
Thanks, David. Hi, everyone. So as David mentioned, we won't talk to the financial results unless there's any specific questions people want to pose to us. What we will talk about first off is the independent audit report. So as David mentioned, it's an unqualified audit report this year. So that's what you would expect, a clean audit opinion on the December 31st, 2017 results. But what I am going to do is talk at a high level to our audit findings report. So this is the final communication document that covers off the mandatory communication pieces to mayor and council. So I know this was distributed earlier, so I'll just hit some highlights from this document. First off, the MNP audit process. So obviously the audit was conducted in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards, as David mentioned. Audit procedures included a review of all significant accounting and management reporting systems to gain comfort over the financial reporting system. During the course of the audit, we examined on a test basis evidence supporting the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements, assessed the accounting principles used, and significant estimates made by management, obtained an understanding of the district control environment, including management's internal controls and processes. At the end of the audit, so the end of today, we'll obtain written representations from management that during the audit they communicated clearly, truthfully to all our questions to give us comfort in the process during the year. So some significant audit findings. So our areas of audit emphasis, obviously the financial statements, the presentation, disclosures in accordance with public sector accounting standards, look at contingencies, commitments, lawsuits, consider fraud and error and any impacts they might have had on the district and our audit. And in Appendix B, there's some detailed information about that, but we won't hit that unless anyone has any specific questions. Final materiality. So we did not change our materiality level from the amount that was disclosed to you when we presented our audit service plan. So that was $1,080,000. No difficulties encountered during the audit. We did not find any significant deficiencies in internal control that deemed to be significant enough to bring forward to you here today. Fraud and error, nothing came up in our audit. That was a concern around that. Compliance with laws, regulations, transactions with related parties, going concern, no issues to note in any of those areas. Significant accounting policies, so we always assess the accounting policies and how they are applied to make sure they are consistent with public sector accounting standards and are properly disclosed in your financial statements. And again, no issues to note there. We had no disagreements with management. Significant differences, there was one minor classification adjustment we asked management to make, and that was done. There was a couple minor unadjusted differences that weren't made to the tune of about $65,000, and those are also disclosed at the appendices to the financial statements. Independence, so we're required to maintain our independence and be free of conflicts of interest. So we will issue a final letter to that fact, stating that we are in fact independent from the district. Unless someone has questions, I won't go into any further details. That's a summary of the audit findings report for 2017.
Thank you very much. Anybody, any questions? Councillor Barkle?
In previous
Use
years,
your mic, please.
oh, sorry. In previous years, we've had a little meeting with just the auditors and council and no staff. As far as I am aware, we didn't do that this year. Is that a standard audit procedure, or is that just an extra procedure that you threw in previously?
Yeah, usually if council wants an in-camera meeting, then we're happy to do it. We didn't hear whether there was a request for one this year, so we didn't have that.
I thought it was, my understanding it was your initiative previously.
Usually we call the mayor, right?
Yes,
To
I
communicate
talked
on
to
that
him.
front?
So you spoke just with the mayor and not the rest of the
Correct,
council?
yes, yeah. So we're not required to do that, but are happy to do that anytime. Any further questions?
Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Appreciate you coming down. Appreciate all the work that you did, and I hope everything seems to have worked out well. Thank you. Council, could we have a resolution to approve statements, please? Councillor Booth? Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.
May I add a statement? I just wanted to let council know that I also talked to the auditors in the same way that the mayors do, just at a high level, and they couldn't say enough of the work that David and Renee, especially, and the rest of the finance department did on the audit. They said it's one of their best audits that they do. They shifted all to a new system this year and did an immense amount of work, which made the audit flow a lot easier. So I think with all that we report, with all the little issues that we have in our finance department getting straightened up, this one was really good feedback for me to hear.
That's excellent.
That's good. Okay, thank you very much. I guess we're moving forward to number 6, the opportunity for public comment on anything that's highlighted and anything that should have been highlighted, as was pointed out earlier. Yes.
Brad Besler, 8132 Princeton Summerland Road. First of all, I was at the grass fire in Garnet Valley today, and I just want to thank Fire Chief Noble and the whole team for saving the day. Like, a lot of gratitude and respect to you guys. So, but I'm up here to talk about the proposed bylaws for cannabis production. Within the last month, the federal government announced that they're going to be granting micro cultivation licenses. The maximum size for these are 2,100 square feet. You still have to go through all the security requirements, criminal record checks and everything. And just for a reference, the maximum size is 2,100 square feet, but an acre of land is approximately 46,000 square feet, so it illustrates the relatively small size of these production facilities. And it just seems like it's a great opportunity for a lot of small businesses to participate, and I just feel that excluding ALR landowners is a little unfair. You have to go through still all the security requirements and everything, and it's going to be legit. It's going to be bringing legitimate revenue to the district and everyone, and I just wanted to come up here and offer my piece on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't want to see this time go to waste. My name is Dawn Richards. I live at 14119 Prairie Valley Road. And I'd like to commend staff and council on the proposal to limit marijuana grow-ops to industrial areas. But I have a question as to whether the existing grow operations on ALR will be allowed to continue as they are, or will they have to move?
You can speak to that.
Yeah. Dino, I think we'll be speaking to that later in our discussion. Thank you.
Clint Skinner from 10222 Gilman. I'm here to talk about 11.52. I wasn't prepared for anything. I didn't realize it wasn't highlighted, so I wasn't prepared for anything to say to you. But I can tell you that we live next to a grow-op, and it's right above us, and it is a nightmare for the neighborhood. It's devalued all our property, and it's all because of the smell. And we've tried since 2000 and probably 11 or so to get this smell away from us. They said it would be changed in 2014, and it hasn't been changed. There's still smell up there, and because it's on the Agricultural Land Reserve, we were told that the Right to Farm Act comes into effect, and that they're protected under the Privacy Act. And so nothing's really been done up there to stop the smell, and we still have it. So our neighborhood and myself, my wife, really thank you for being proactive on this, because we support this by zoning amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to comment, please?
So what we have going on now in agricultural land is personal production licenses. So everybody's kind of just doing whatever they want, and they got no regulation. With everything coming down the pipe, you would need the proper regulation. You would need to go through certain hoops now. If you guys don't let it happen in agricultural land, it's still going to happen. People are just going to apply for personal licenses if you don't give them the opportunity to do it right. They're just going to keep doing it the way that they're doing it, and nothing's going to change. There's not much you can say about people's personal licenses, but if they're able to turn it into a business and do it right, they're going to do it right, and they're going to have the right exhausts, and they're going to have all the right equipment and go through all the right hoops. But if they don't, they're always going to find a way to grow, for sure. Thank you.
Did we get your name?
No, we didn't get a name or
I'm sorry, we need your name and address, please, or your name, please. That's all.
Ryan Bergall, 9200 Shale Ave.
We actually don't need the address, do we? No. Yes, sir.
Mel Cozen, 13917 Prairie Valley Road. I want to commend council for getting this bylaw hopefully into place. I live right now adjacent to a grow-up operation, a legal one at this time. It's an agricultural zone, but it's Sweet Valley cannabis. Last summer, I endured almost the entire summer of skunk smell. It's very, very disturbing. It's very unhealthy in my opinion, and certainly something that I don't want to be having to smell again. I believe that putting this material into industrial zones with all the regulations that are required to do so, irrespective of size, is a really good way to go. And I would commend if council certainly does that. There are an awful lot of people that really have smelled this material, especially in Prairie Valley. And I think that when this thing goes to committee, I'm hoping that the committee will be receptive to an information session as well as public hearing. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Is there anybody else like to come forward? Okay, we'll move on. I guess we're moving to...
Before we do, item 12.4, we needed that resolution.
Oh.
You did it. They did it.
Okay, we didn't catch that.
They did it.
Okay, great.
Okay, move on to my report. Council, I would like to thank our Director of Development Services, Dean Strachan, for his service over this last year plus. Dean is leaving us this Friday for a position a little closer to home. Dean's ability to capture a huge volume of information and detail was especially valuable to the community. We wish him well as he moves forward to a new position. The recent and ongoing wet weather has made life difficult for some residents, and our concerns go out especially to those families that have been under an evacuation order over the last week or so. Our staff continue to work hard dealing with situations as they come up. These unfortunate events happen anytime, and staff has been there to assist affected residents. The Summerland Senior Secondary grad class has been busy this last week. They've been delivering phone books all over the community. They're raising more funds for dry grad this year. As part of that effort, I was the proud recipient of a large bouquet of flowers in a yellow vase shaped much like a toilet. My gift was delivered in the dead of night last Thursday by the toilet fairy. I purchased toilet insurance for $30 to ensure that I don't receive this hilarious gift again. I re-gifted the bouquet to a good friend of mine, high school teacher, Mr. Dave Stathers. I'm sure he'll be appreciative of that. So please phone 250-487-9133 for all your plumbing needs to help cover dry grad efforts this year. Earth Week takes place April 13th to 22nd. Earth Week celebrations are family events to help raise awareness and inspire environmental action. Please visit the website for any details on the many events that take place during the whole week. And lastly, our concerns and sympathies go out to the families and players of the Humboldt Broncos and residents of Humboldt, Saskatchewan, after the horrific crash that occurred last Friday night. Thank you.
Council, I have a little bit of a longer report or more things on it tonight just to run by you. Of course, water is an item that's high on all of our minds with the recent slide activity out on Garnet Valley Road. Our state of local emergency on the two properties there, the evacuation order and the evacuation alert, we're really hopeful that maybe we'll be able to get that off tomorrow or the next day. The geotechnical consultants, both ours and the property owners and Fortis BC's, who has a gas line going through that property, have all been actively working on plans today. So, and it's somewhat more stable than it has been, but it's really what we're realizing right now is we've got three categories that we need to work on. One of them is this groundwater, which really doesn't have much at all to do with the snow melt itself. It's the groundwater, it's the saturation in the ground. And we're seeing unprecedented levels of groundwater. We have groundwater. All weekend our staff was out dealing with impacts on our roads, and individual property owners are having great issues. So there's the groundwater that will really influence too if there's more storms coming up and potentially some more slide activities. But then there's also the dams and reservoirs and the creeks. And just to give council some information, and we had a meeting with all of staff today, and we're going to do an information brochure up and get it out to all the residents. And then we're going to start a communication, regular communication on our website and our Facebook page. So this will be the sort of the base starting place. But I mentioned to council last time that we had reduced the level in our Garnet Reservoir to levels that we had never gone down as low. It's now caught up and surpassed already. And this again is because of the groundwater. It's not even really the snowpack, the snow melt yet. Yesterday alone, it was up 10.8 centimeters overnight. So if it's coming up very, very fast, if it's gone 60 centimeters in the last 7 days, So if you do the calculations on, we're looking at the very maximum before we reach capacity is 13 days. So, and, you know, when you talk to staff, the water staff, about our myriad of dams and different situations out there, and some of them are 40 years old or greater than 40 years old, it's quite complex. And right now, the issue they're having is there's so much snow out there that they can't even get the last, when they checked, one of them yesterday had to take the snowmobile partway up, and they had to snowshoe all the way in because there's not enough traction underneath, and they said there's still like 5 feet of snow up there. So we're on high alert sort of on the dams and reservoirs and creeks. So part of the publication that we send out to residents will be just a reminder of keeping eyes wide open and seeing if there's anything going on with the creeks and blockages, et cetera. And we've already got sand out the creek's way, and then and bags are available at the fire hall, and we're monitoring things closely. If we had like stable weather where we had, you know, 3 days of a little bit of warmth but not hot, and then not too much rain, we may avert anything really bad, but lots of rain or lots of heat will be a problem. And then lastly, of course, the third one is the lake, and at this point in time, the lake is still looking good, but in this document that we put out, we will give people the information so they know, they'll be able to check those 3 items. So that's just the little update on the water. Mayor Waterman mentioned the Humboldt tragedy, and our recreation department has suggested that they would like to run an event on Friday evening between 6 and 9, basically a public skate fundraiser. Our staff is willing to make that, both the recreation and the arena staff would be willing to work to make that event work, and they would get the word out and sort of hope to bring the community together for this skate for the end of the year and for Humboldt. So we'll be moving forward with that. And then Earth Week, Mayor Waterman also mentioned Earth Week, but I'd like to mention that on April 21st, between 10 o'clock and 3 p.m., that's the household hazardous waste and recycling roundup at the arena parking lot. That's always a really big one to get the word out, that this is the time to bring that hazardous waste, household chemicals, light bulbs, pool cleaners, bleach, used oil, antifreeze, you know, all of that kind of thing, to the arena. They'll have all the bins there, and it'll take up the whole parking lot.
21st?
April 21st.
Thank you.
Okay.
And just on the cannabis, Dean will be speaking in his report to the proposed bylaw, which is really an interim measure until all the regulations come out. But as you know, in this month's newsletter, we've just got facts. The first set of our facts, we're working on some other information to go out, and we'll be hosting 2 open houses. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the dates set today, but they'll be coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks to have information sessions to let you to be heard. We'll do a presentation, and we'll be taking feedback in. And that's my report for today.
Good. Thank you very much. So moving ahead to unfinished business, 9.1. So we have some resolutions brought forward from March 26 regarding appointments to committees. So council, would we need that to be brought forward? Any comment at all?
Only comment is that there was a computer glitch when this was first published. The names weren't actually fully listed online. So you'll see with the new updated version, they are all there. Apologies to those people.
Okay, so we have 2 resolutions, or we can treat them all as one?
They're simply being brought forward.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Peak?
Would you like me to read the resolutions?
Sure.
No, they're being brought forward.
It's just being brought forward, so we don't need it read
That's
out.
right.
No
Okay.
action needed.
It's just appointments to committees.
That's right, yeah.
I'll bring it forward then.
Okay, thank you. There's no mover or seconder. Okay, moving on to 9.2.
Skate park.
Skate park.
So I'll just start this one out, and then Lori may have information to add. Council has talked during the financial plan that they would like to see the construction of the skate park start this year, since we've been waiting for a long time for the skate park. So probably 80% of the time that skate parks are done, they're done in a design-build contract. So you award all at once, the designer and the builder together. And then, and it's just, but because we didn't have the funds at the time that the design was being done, we've done them separately. But it is a very specialized work, and it's very difficult to find firms that are specialized in skate park construction. Our purchasing policy doesn't allow for, without council approval, to do invitational bidding, but to go out to a full RFP process or a tender process, low bid tender process, there's still some more work that needs to be done as far as final design. And so it gets very difficult to go out in a full process, and staff is recommending that we look at a resolution to do an invitational tender or RFP, depending which one it turns out to be, and that we contact the firms that have done skate parks, municipal skate parks, over the past 5 years. Even in the last 5 years, in our research, you will be finding that there's very few construction companies that done it, and the company that has designed ours has constructed the absolute majority of the skate parks that are out there. But we may be able to find some other ones to put an invitation to.
Okay. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering how many companies were you thinking of inviting?
We had thought perhaps 3 to 4, but whether or not we actually are successful finding 3 or 4, that's the issue. Lori spent most of the afternoon today researching. We have the list of all of the municipalities that have had, in British Columbia, that have had skate parks made since 2015. Like I say, the vast majority are design build, and even bigger majority by the same company. So it will depend on how many we can actually find. It is a problem because most of the queues are already done. Most of their work is planned for this year.
Okay, Councillor Peak.
Yeah, what we want is open the process as you can make, so at least an invitational gives us an opportunity to see who might have some availability, and the transparency of doing so is what I would need to see happen.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we agreed to this morning, to look at this and make sure we're as open as we could be and get the job done. Anybody else? Comments? Would someone like to bring that forward then, please? Councillor Peak?
That the staff be directed to prepare a procurement document for the final design and construction of the Summerland skate park, and further that due to the specialized nature of the construction, staff be authorized to distribute the document on an invitational basis rather than posting electronically on BC Bid and Summerland website.
Seconder, please. Councillor Barco, thank you. Any further discussion?
I just have
Councillor
one question. Given that New Line, I think, did the design work up until now, if New Line is unable to bid on this, on the remainder of this process, would the final design be, well, I was going to use the word in jeopardy, but that's not really what I mean. Would there be any complications in getting the final design in line with what New Line and the referral process that we went through and the engagement to keep that design moving forward? The intention of that design moving forward.
So when you ask if they're unable, did you ask if they may be unable, or?
No, I'm just wondering if they are not able to.
Because of their schedules.
Because of their schedules,
Right.
yeah.
because we've got detailed specifications, and the modifications are because of our own requirements, some irrigation lines, I understand, that have to be moved and, or accommodated because of the school board issues. It shouldn't be an issue if it was someone else. It certainly would be more streamlined if it was the same company, but we haven't been able to talk about that too much yet, but the design would be fine.
Okay. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving on to correspondence, 10.1. Is there anything in the correspondence that any councillor would like to bring forward, please? Councillor Peak.
I'd just like to make note that the Riga Festival has written a letter of thanks to council for the grant and aid and the appreciation for being able to move forward.
Okay. No. Thank you. Is anybody else? Would someone like to bring that forward to be received? Councillor Boot?
That the minutes, sorry, pardon me, the correspondence that is, sorry, could I have somebody else do that? My computer is telling me it's going to restart and I don't want it to.
I'll read that. Or
Okay, go ahead.
That the information items included in the report dated for the April 9th, 2018 regular council meeting from the manager of legislative services be received for information.
Thank you. Seconder, please, Councillor Carlson. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay, 10.2. Committee, commission minutes to be received for information. Like to bring that forward? Councillor Boot? You're alive and well now?
Yes, I've told it to redo this another time. That the minutes included in the report of April the 9th for the Manager of Legislative Services be received for information. Those are the
Seconder,
committee and
please.
commission meetings.
Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to Development Services reports. Mr. Strachan.
Actually, before Mr. Strachan starts, just again, I mentioned it briefly when we were talking about the yellow highlighting, but just a reminder to council that in accordance with the Development Services or Procedures bylaw, when we get an application now, the very first thing that should happen is it comes to council. We had that conversation so these ones that haven't proceeded yet to bylaw, the intent is not to do a long overview of them. The intent is to make sure that council's seen the application before it goes to APC or to the other committees, so that if it's talked about in the community, you've actually seen them. It's not meant to slow the process down. It's going to be very important that we still get them. As soon as we get them, we don't do a lot of processing. They're here, council gets introduced. So these ones, before they come with bylaw, are meant to be just in very general. And then they don't come back here again without the bylaw. There was some confusion on that issue, but once they've come here, they go to APC, and then the next time they come back to council, they'll have the proposed bylaw attached to them.
Thank you. Councillor Peak?
If I might have a question in regard to that. So perhaps you're suggesting that we do less intensive discussion about it, that this is really notice of them coming forward, and we would have a greater opportunity to speak to them when the bylaw comes?
That's right, although, I think, Banks Crescent's a good example. We said, when Banks Crescent came, that, you needed to go to first reading before you talked about it. And so there may be an application sometime that that council as a whole just doesn't want it to move. You felt like you've reviewed it enough that you don't want to go through the process. So you would not even have it go to bylaw. But for the majority of them, it would just be an overview here, and you would do the deep dive after you've heard from APC and from the other committees. So it would be just an overview to say, yes, send it through the process.
Thank you for that clarification.
Councillor Carlson, are you?
It's related to 11.1.
Okay,
We're there
go
yet.
ahead.
We're there?
Right, no, Dean's going to go there right now. Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Strachan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as you note, that this is a zoning bylaw text amendment, and this is developed by staff, and it's got a series of text amendments that we're bringing forward to council that we've identified as requiring some revision or update for a variety of reasons. Some of them are related to variances that we commonly see, for example, retaining walls, the regulation around distance from the garage door to the front property line. And these accounted for almost a quarter, maybe even a third of the variances the council saw last year, as well as some amendments to allow for secondary suites and carriage homes in some additional properties in the community, particularly around large properties, the A2, the CR1, and some other house sort of smaller amendments related to building height and siting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council, any questions of Mr. Strachan? Councilor Carlson.
I'm bringing this forward as the messenger. I spoke with Councillor Traynor a little bit about the point number 2 on zoning around brew pubs, which operate as a restaurant open to the public, but also manufacture their alcohol on site. It was noted that Summerland's only distillery is currently in the industrial area, and it's really neat, and there's some great potential, and there's some other things happening in that neighborhood as well. Coffee roasting, there's some wine making, there's all kinds of stuff going on. And the question was just raised as to whether or not this would that would become problematic if it's not within a zone like this, and if we should be addressing that through this process as well, since it appears to be up for discussion on brew pubs. So it's something to put out there.
Mr. Strachan.
So this is identified as a definition that's in the bylaw that doesn't really fit with any uses we have currently in town. So those licensing, for the most part, as far as I know, what they're operating on, would not fall under this qualifier. They're more like a tasting room associated with a production facility. This is intended around actually having the restaurant type component associated as well. So this is a different licensing category than the facilities that I understand that we have in the industrial park.
So if they were to expand or change, we would either have to change the bylaw or they would have to move from industrial? Is that kind of the...
The idea is that they would maybe have their product available in a more restaurant-oriented location downtown or in a commercial area of the community, more so than adding restaurant use to an industrial park. That's the concept.
Okay, but it would also allow for an establishment to set up and do the restaurant still all in one location.
Yeah, and this is becoming common in other communities where you see the whole premise of the whole theme of the restaurant or the pub is based on the production of either spirits or producing different types of beer. And it's become quite common in urban centers around BC.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, also on the brew pub section, just a question about the maximum floor area of 1,000 square meters and the minimum of 25% of the total building floor area for a lounge. Now, how does that take into account, I guess, if a brew pub was set up in a portion of a larger building? I'm thinking like the cannery down at the lakeshore. If a place like that just wanted to have one little corner to be a brew pub, how do you account for those percentages?
It's based on the provincial liquor regulations, is my understanding. So we'd have to review that and get back to council if there's some provision. I know that there are those facilities within markets and so forth,
Malls
around
or
the
whatever.
market and so
Yeah.
forth. So there must be a way to accommodate for that. What the specific regulation around those uses are, I'd have to look into.
And I could add that if brew pubs themselves need a little bit more work, we could send this, it may be a big enough issue that we need to do a little bit more review on brew pubs and
Yeah, we certainly, any of these items could be separated out from the group and actually come forward as an independent report if council wished. This is intended to bring a series of amendments forward, but any one of them could be separated out and brought forward as a separate report. And if council wishes to see this one brought out as a separate report, as it's a large enough item, it would make good sense to do that.
Councillor Pete,
Then let's do that, because I think this item deserves a little more attention.
is this something we can do at this stage, or do we wait and have it go through the APC?
Well, I think it's going to go through the APC anyway. I imagine you're going to refer, but the question will be whether or not you want to at least go get this brew pub into your downtown core, and then additionally to that. So you may want to leave the amendment as presented, and then also direct staff to look at widening that breadth a little bit more.
I think that's a good recommendation.
So we can do that now before it goes to APC?
Just you could leave that in the way it is and send it to APC, but then we could make note to do a separate report on a bigger breadth of that concept.
Okay. Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I agree. We move it forward because we need brew pubs.
Yeah.
We need, okay. Seconder, please?
Sorry, I have another question.
Oh, go ahead.
Another, on point, number 5, the accessory structures in the front and exterior. So this is basically like, we get a lot of these on when they're lakeshore properties, for example, or strangely shaped properties, and that they wouldn't normally be able to, like, put the garage in the back because they have no back, that sort of thing?
That scenario, as well as large parcels where you have a longer driveway that comes up, and quite commonly the garage will be in front of the building. They won't then wrap around the back of the house to do that. But that building we're bringing forward to council for a variance, even though it may be 150 meters away from the roadway. So we feel that this proposal would reduce those variance requirements. So you still need to meet that larger setback so it's not up tight to the road. But for these larger parcels, you wouldn't need a variance.
See, my concern with that is that, I'd hate to see all kinds of weird structures being put up in people's front yards. I don't mind those ones coming to council because I think the principle is a good one, and we can, we use common sense when it's needed to pass those variances, but the idea of that, hey, it's okay to build in your front yard, I'm not so sure.
Mr. Strachan?
Just for council's clarification, so the idea is that it would be the same setback as the principal house is required. So it would be, to get around this now, what they do is they commonly will attach the house by a breezeway to the garage in front, and then they don't require anything because it's cited as per the principal building. What we're saying is, instead of having that artificial breezeway, it has to be set back the same setback as the house would be if they're going to have a separated garage. So the house would be further back from that. So the idea isn't to have it in the front yard area, but maintain the front yard area, but this configuration component be removed.
Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Booth?
Thank you. Mr. Strachan, I'm asking a question about number 8 and the setback for garage doors. I'm sorry, I don't quite understand. From the way that it's written, I don't understand really what it's saying. Could you clarify it for me, please?
So each zoning district has a front yard setback. This particular regulation was put into the bylaw to create additional visitor-type parking on properties. Where it became a problem, we saw with the strata on Cedar, for example, because it applies to internal roadways as well as external roadways. So all the houses in that neighborhood are designed to have a front yard setback that's quite tight to the roadway. So we needed to do a variance for each one of these. So what this removal would do is remove those types of scenarios and just allow the front yard setback of the zoning district to apply and not have this additional regulation specifically about garage doors.
Can you give me an example of what the zoning setback would be for, say, 2 or 3 different zoning districts? I guess it would be other than the 6.0 meters.
So the RSD1 is 6.0 meters.
Okay.
RSD2 is 6.0 meters, and the RSD3 is 7.0 meters.
Okay. So, so what you're saying is, if I'm understanding what you've potentially at least clarified for me, is this, whatever the district, or the zoning district says applies, and no longer will the minimum setback be the 6.0? It could be 6.0, it could be more than that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the idea is to create more driveway spaces in properties.
Okay.
But because it's actually specifically applied to all public right-of-ways, private strata roads, so all of these additional provisions, if you have a
Right.
shared driveway, for example, you now have to be 6 meters off of that with a garage door.
Okay.
So council has seen a number of times where we've had to vary that in the last year.
Yeah, and that
this-
example of Cedar was great.
So you're not only set back from the front yard, but then you're set back from a shared driveway.
Okay,
So it has an unintentional result.
great, I understand now.
You've still got those bigger driveways. It's not changing the setback of the building. But this additional provision has had some side effects.
Good, thank you.
Okay, someone like to bring that forward then, please? Councillor Peak?
I will bring that resolution forward to council.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Boot? Any further discussion? Councillor Barco?
Yes, I have a question, just if you could refresh my memory on where we're at. You know, we've done a number of things to expand the availability of carriage houses. And right now, where are carriage houses allowed in the downtown area? Is it are they allowed in all RSD, all RSD1 that has sewer? Is that the current situation, or?
Yeah, no, all of our RSD 1, 2, and 3 have those provisions, and we added some additional provisions late last year to the zoning bylaw to allow for bigger carriage homes as well.
Right.
And these are additional areas where we don't allow secondary suites or carriage homes that we're adding in, is this proposal in here.
Yeah.
So those weren't covered in the first pass, and we've made a second pass through looking at secondary suites and carriage homes and how they would work. And this is in sort of a precursor to council's bringing forward the housing strategy for the community. So these are the components of bylaws that we're trying to clean up and deal with right now before we have that greater strategy come in and identify other components that would help the community with housing.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anything else? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to 11.2, Mr. Strachan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This application is for a development permit at 6011 Highway 97, and this is a form and character development permit for a renovation to an existing building and a modification of the facade. The proposal is to rebuild the interior as well as redo the facade of the building, and the proposal includes some renovations to this portion as well as the gas station portion of the building. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson.
I have a couple of questions about this one. First of all, I was just noting the comment about the ministry and the access to the highway. Would the current access, which is off right in front of the blue part of the building there, there's an exit there, and it's quite steep and also quite dangerous. Would that still be an exit to the highway, or is there some rule that would require that to be blocked off and only access from the lights? Do we know?
So my understanding from highways is they support this component at this point. They didn't have any major concerns, but they would provide their existing access permit. Now, at any point, the ministry has the right to remove accesses if there's alternate access available. At this point in time, they haven't identified that as a request through this application. And it was referred to the ministry, and they did provide the response that they had no major concerns.
ahead.
Just, I guess to add to that, then, I think that there should be some further looking and inquiry into coming off of the highway onto Johnson and people coming off Johnson onto the highway, and the lack of proper lines and signage and things, because it is, if that becomes even more busy than it already is, I think it's going to be quite dangerous, and I think that there needs to be some better distinction between what is the parking lot and where the lines are and what is the shoulder and things like that, because it could become problematic. I know there's also, they rent U-Hauls and things like that, so there's extra stuff sort of popping out once in a while. So I think that we need to actually seriously consider the safety aspects, especially if you put in a liquor store, which will be very busy in the summertime. So I would support it, but it needs to be done safely, and I don't think that just with facade improvements, we're quite there yet.
Councillor Holmes and Councillor Peak.
I was just wondering why this comes to council. Is it just a development permit when the approving officer just approved it or not?
Development permits, we actually had brought a suggestion to council at some point that we have a delegation for, that they be delegated to staff, because they can be by legislation, but council said that they wanted them to come to council, continue to come to council.
Councillor Peak.
A couple questions. The parking area, where is it on this property? What are we measuring at? What area?
The parking areas are located in front of the building.
So it's towards 97 where Ogopogo Meats used to be?
It's the same building.
It's the same building. And because this is a very busy site, so I understand that there are 12 spaces and that it's been measured that is in fact the case. I understand that the propane cylinder is going to be downsized. Can you talk about that a little bit?
The propane cylinder itself doesn't form part of this application. However, I understand it's being reviewed for relocation.
Okay. Anybody else? Someone like to bring that forward then, please? Councillor Barkwell.
Just a question, I guess. I wondered how this is going to be handled. It says there has to be a 4.5 meter landscape buffer strip with along Highway 97. Is it sort of a safe assumption that the Ministry of Transportation is going to waive that? Because I think right now it's just a retaining wall or something, isn't it?
So the staff report indicates that the recommendation is to not do those components at this point because it's an existing structure, but come back to that when new development takes place on that property because of those constraints of proximity and view angles for access. So instead of dealing with it at this stage when they're doing a facade upgrade, look at it when the site redevelops as far as establishing landscape buffers.
So the approval from the Ministry of Transportation won't be required for this facade upgrade?
It's not required due to the size of development, and there's no modification of the footprint of the building. And we did refer it to them to ask if they had any concerns, and they did respond with no major concerns. The difference being if this was to be a rebuild of the building, we may look at setting it further back so that the parking and the access to the pumps wasn't restricted by landscape islands. And probably push it further back, and access may be coming from a different side.
Councillor Peak.
I'll bring the resolution forward. The development permit application for 6011 Highway 97 be authorized, facade improvements to be approved.
Okay. Seconder, please. Councillor Booth, thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Carlson.
So I, just further to my comments before, if this goes ahead and it does become quite busy and things it becomes obvious that it's not good enough, what's the next what's the recourse and who takes responsibility for safe access to this location? Us or the province or the owner? Who would fix it?
So access points in the community have ongoing discussions between the city's engineer and Ministry of Highways. And if it did become an issue, that's where the discussions would take place on what modifications at the intersection or modifications to access may be required. And those get reviewed on a regular basis with the ministry, particularly at some of these more troubling intersections.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very tight, because what happens now is people, or prior to the closing of that various types of businesses, people pull up, they either go back out the highway on the access or exit the Councillor Carlson mentioned, or they drive back through the pumps and go out. So it's actually a very problematic location. So I would expect we'll be looking at something down the road to try and deal with it. So we've got a mover and a seconder. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Mr. Strachan, 11.3.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this application is an OCP amendment and rezoning for site-specific zoning to allow for a campground on a property at 20201 Highway 40. This property currently has an OCP designation of agriculture, open lands, and is proposed to amend it to take it to agriculture, and has a zoning that's actually AG2, which is RDOS zoning. So it was annexed into the city. And when it was annexed into the city, any property when it's annexed comes with its OCP designation and its zoning from the regional district. And this particular case, the property received a new OCP designation after annexation, however, did not get rezoned. And this was a part of a larger application in that area that did not go forward. So the OCP amendment took place, but a rezoning did not take place. And this particular application is an opportunity to get it into district zoning. The component of this campground piece is actually a site-specific zoning, so we have it in our A1 where you have site-specific to allow a campground where you actually list the property within the zoning district and its various regulations around it. So this proposal is to redesignate the property and then rezone it to allow for this to take place. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Planner? Keeping in mind that it's going to get more depth later. Councillor Booth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one question. It says the property owners have applied to amend the OCP and zoning bylaw for agricultural uses, and then it talks about a temporary use permit for the campground with the intention to operate a 15-unit campground on the property. I'm not understanding why a temporary use permit is required if that's their ultimate intention.
There's two parts I messed up here. First of all, it is an OCP amendment, so it did not get an OCP designation, and sorry, I'm confusing the various applications we have this evening. And the second part of it is I didn't describe the report itself. We're looking at making it a temporary use permit. So there's some words missing in those paragraphs that should say that's what they apply for. So you'll see references to a temporary use permit.
Okay.
We were attempting to clarify, and in that order of clarify, made it more messy. My apologies. So once we reviewed the application and looked at the process, we determined that this was the better route to follow. Okay. Because this has been done with the bylaw in the past already for site-specific zoning with the A1 district, we're looking at the A2 district to do a very similar thing where you have site-specific zoning that allows for campground.
Okay. So
it matches the rest of the bylaw and has better flow than a temporary permit that would then require renewal. And then how do they move forward for the future? So this is sort of the process we went through. And unfortunately, there's a few words missing in that paragraph that would have helped quite significantly in explaining.
So I didn't actually read temporary use permit.
You read it correctly, but the wording was incorrect.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor Peak.
In the report, it mentions about fire pits and there will only be one allowed. Can you describe the reason for that?
Well, there's always concerns when you're in the exterior or the periphery of the community about fire regulations and fire protection. So those fire provisions were included in previous, and I recommended to go forward with this application.
And I make note that they were perhaps going to do rentals of fire pits, the propane type. That would be allowed. Thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Barkle.
Does the district have anything to say about RV sites, and this looks like a really attractive site, that turn into sort of year-round residences?
The district has to enforce their bylaws, is essentially what it comes down to. So if the occupation extends beyond the periods of time designated for campgrounds, we would need to enforce against that, the property owner, to ensure that that's only being occupied for short periods.
So we have a limit on how long you can stay in a campground?
It's not intended for full-time residency. It's intended for commercial use as a campground. So as soon as trailers were beginning to stay, I can't remember what the period was proposed, is in the bylaw at this point.
But yes, we do.
Yeah, there's a number.
There's limits.
We just have not, on some of the ones that we have existing, their legacy, they weren't enforced way back then, and it's difficult now. But anything that was opening now, certainly we would.
Would be our intention to enforce the limit, yeah?
30 days.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
30 days.
Okay, Councillor Peak.
I'll bring the recommendation for the resolution forward. Staff be directed to prepare an official community plan amendment bylaw to change the land use designation from open lands to agricultural, and a zoning amendment bylaw to change the zone from AG2 RDUS electoral in the electoral area F rural land use bylaw to A2 agricultural large acreage zone for the lot at 2065 and 2201 Highway 40.
Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Peak.
I'd like to say the opportunity to have more camping available for our tourists is a good one.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 11.4. Mr. Strachan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this application is a rezoning application for a property at 8320 Prairie Valley Road, and the application is to rezone the property, from RDH to RSD1. And the proposal is to, although it's a zoning that appears to reduce the density allowed on the property, it's actually to allow for 2 single-family dwellings on 2 lots instead of a duplex on 1 lot. So it's an equal representation of density, but is a different configuration of units. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council? Questions? Okay, would someone like to bring that forward, please? Councillor Carlson?
I'll move 11.4 as presented.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Barkle, thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 11.5. Mr. Strachan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a staff report in regards to marijuana license production. So this is a topic that's been discussed with council periodically throughout the last year, more intensely in the recent months as the impeding legislation is expected to make change. The 2 areas that have sort of come out of the process of regulation development are distribution, which has been the hot one lately. The other one is production. So production, we haven't seen a lot of new regulatory components come out in recent months. In December, the federal government put out some components. So the proposal before council is an interim measure. So this is a measure to deal with what we have at this point in time in legislation and regulation, and will be required to be, or appears to need to be required to be amended in the near future as regulation actually comes into effect. So the proposal is to add marijuana licensing production as an allowable use in the zoning bylaw. And what does that do is it does add a use that specifically talks to marijuana production. At this point in time, because the zoning bylaw is silent on this specific use, it falls into other categories. So it can fall into manufacturing and it can fall into agriculture. So by adding a specific definition for this particular use, you can then regulate where it is located in the community. And at this point, the proposal is to include it in the M1 and M2 zoning districts. And we looked at including the agricultural districts, but at this point in time, there's a lot of questions around what the ALC is going to do, as well as what the province and the federal government's going to do around production. At this point in time, the facilities need to contain a series of other things, including processing and distribution components. And it appears that there's going to be some separation of those uses. And council in the future may consider having those production processing uses in industrial areas so that you aren't having not just the growing is taking place on the ALR lands, and then your actual processing and packaging and manufacturing component is on your industrial lands. So these regulations are really in flux right now, as well as the categories are in flux. So this is to deal with specifically what's in legislation right now, and will be changing in the near future as we hopefully see more clarity coming from the province and the federal government on what the different categories are going to be and how much control municipalities are given over where they go.
Councillor Carlson.
So just to clarify then, we're speaking in this conversation about medicinal cannabis, not recreational?
That's correct.
Okay. And, sorry.
Because at this point, there isn't specific regulations around any other components other than the production of medical marijuana.
So this is fixing, dealing, and looking at an issue that has been around for quite some time, but it isn't necessarily going to be what we're going to be doing in August, September, October of 2018 when recreational cannabis is legal in Canada.
When it's just cannabis in general, not
It'll be-
recreation or
It'll be,
yeah.
this will sort of, will this, what we're talking about today, still cover that, or will it kind of just not matter anymore? This is really what I want to know.
It will matter, but this will not be the format you will likely be considering going forward.
Okay.
As was mentioned earlier in the meeting, the federal government, and we talked about it a bit in December as well, is the federal government's looking at a number of different categories. Right now, there's personal and there's commercial.
Right.
Now they're talking about a graduated number of different sizes based on the number of plants or the area of production that you have, that may or may not have the heavier requirements of security and climate control that the commercial facilities require now. So there's going to be a number of other categories that council's going to have to consider. And there's other regulations that council will likely consider, and specifically to the ALR lands, about proximity for the facilities, proximity for greenhouses. And all the indications have been is that councils will have the ability to add regulation, but not to necessarily prohibit it altogether. So you may have allowances allowed on the ALR for growing it, and you may add additional regulations around that, and hopefully the ALC will provide municipalities some guidance on what components they are considering local government having control over.
To follow up on that then?
Go ahead.
So one of my thoughts initially was that if this was recommended to go to the Advisory Planning Commission, then it should go to the Agricultural Advisory Committee. But now I'm starting to think that by putting something like this together, we're just confusing the whole issue because it's only going to be relevant for a couple of months and then it becomes a bigger conversation, or it already is a bigger conversation, and so I'm a little confused.
I think it is, you're right, it is only a few months, but there has been a significant increase in recent months on speculation.
Right.
So this is where the concern is there could be more speculation on agricultural lands and investment and works done to that component. This would somewhat, we're hoping, reduce that until the regulations come into effect.
In that case, I still would suggest that our Ag Committee gets to speak to cannabis on ALR and on Ag Zone land in the coming couple of months as this moves forward. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Strachan, do you have something you want?
And we certainly expect to hear, we do correspond with the ALC, to see where they're at. Most recently, we had the indication soon we'll be hearing something. And certainly when those regulations or those guides come out, that would be referred to the Agricultural Committee. Because we'll be looking at the A1, A2 zoning district and how regulation for the production of marijuana is going to take place in those zoning districts from a land use perspective. Or if it is, we don't know. The ALC may not continue to recognize it as a agricultural product. Likely they will. But what parameters are going to be around it, we don't know yet.
I just want to say something on this. The regional district at our last meeting covered this with an application that was being examined for OK Falls. And what was brought forward there was talking specifically to industrial application, but did not mention agricultural lands. In other words, it talked about the use there, but it didn't preclude that it would not, not happen on agricultural land. So, I think given the state of flux, and we don't know where the ALC is at things, I'm a little bit concerned about limiting it to strictly industrial lands. Because although I don't see that there would be any difference between one facility and another depending on its location, if the regulations are similar for processing in both situations. Because what we saw in a description from an applicant was an extremely sophisticated operation that is well beyond anything we've seen locally, where local grow-ops have had sort of a freedom to operate willy-nilly. And the assurance that this outfit was making was that it would not have the problems that existing facilities do have. Because what bothers me in the long run here is, from an agricultural perspective, it's a crop. So are grapes. So are cherries. And grapes involve, they're not a food product, although some people would like to treat it that way. Basically are processed, bottled, and retailed even in the same location. And cherry operations much the same way. In fact, any packing organization may have processing, packaging, and distribution coming from a site on ALR lands. So as far as I'm concerned, if the facility is sophisticated to the point where it is not a problem, so to speak, in a neighborhood, then I see it's no different than some of those other operations. And what I see happening here is an opportunity for a profitable situation being snatched away from agricultural production. And personally, I don't like that. As a grower, I didn't like that sort of thing. So I'm objecting to the idea of limiting it in the way we've got it put in here.
So just the thing that I think that we need to keep in mind, though, is that those aren't required now. The interim measures of when the laws are passed.
Right, okay.
They're going to be passed, and they're going to be supposedly going to be required to have this great exhaust systems, et cetera, now. With zoning in the agricultural, from what I understand right now, would be that you could end up with the current types that aren't there's speculation happening, and there's people that want to get started thinking that it's going to give them a head start on getting their application approved. Right. Whether it does or not, we don't know. But that's I think that's the problem right now, is that although there are some being built like that, it's and that's why Mr. Strachan's saying it's an interim measure, not necessarily what's going to be the best choice.
I'm helped out by that interim idea, because we had a situation in this community a number of years ago where there was an agricultural operation in terms of a small slaughterhouse situation that was allowed in industrial location, was not allowed in the agricultural ALR lands. And council of the day decided to prohibit the use that was already allowed in industrial. So that meant that business went out of business. It could not function anywhere in the community. So all I'm concerned about here is that if it's interim and we're just trying to make sure that we're dealing with the stopgap thing is fine, but I don't want to see this be a permanent situation affecting the growers and the potential profitability of agriculture in the area.
Can we still ask questions?
Go ahead, yeah. Sorry, I had to get my piece out there. Councillor Barkle.
Well, I see this as a very important risk reduction measure, because we don't know what those regulations are going to look like on agricultural land, and you might be willing to have it on agricultural land, but the standards might be different, and you don't know that yet. Personally, I don't see any connection between a grow-op operation and agriculture. It looks like a warehouse. It has security like a warehouse. It is a warehouse, and I think it belongs in industrial land. We've got lots of industrial land that these operations can go on. They don't need to go on to the farmland. That's where they belong because of the nature of their operation, and that's where the position I'll be pushing, and I'm very glad to see this as a start.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it as an interim thing, Councillor Barkle. Councillor Peak, and then Councillor Holmes. Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So this is production, and it's limited to medical cannabis at this point, is that correct, Jean?
We haven't limited it in the proposed zoning because we're trying to create a definition that's reflecting what's anticipated to be coming forward. So we're not saying specifically medical marijuana, but at this point in time, the federal regulations refer to it as that. But due to there's a lot of uncertainty on how the regulations are going to be released and in what order. There's a number of different departments working on various components. So you're seeing things like packaging regulations arrive before other pieces just because other departments are. So just to be a little bit more broad, we're leaving it as just being marijuana altogether.
So this is to be proactive in an interim way until we see what the regulation will be?
And to hopefully ensure that the speculation isn't overgoing beyond where council may wish to see it in the future.
And if I might ask, so where does it leave, because we've seen letters come through from other organizations that are interested in having licensing, and it's been spoken to by our public members that there are some in operation now. Where would it leave those particular properties and organizations if this goes through?
So if this goes through, if the application is approved by the federal government, it would be in place. These zoning regulations would not apply to that particular facility if they get the federal licensing. There's another component to this which makes it even cloudier, which is the variety of different personal licenses that were issued previously. So the private licenses don't have the regulations affected on them and would not be affected by these components. So the personal licenses were issued for a certain number of plants, a certain volume of marijuana to be produced, and then the federal government also allowed for those licenses to be consolidated. So for one person to grow for 10 people's licenses. So that created a lot of cloudiness around it, and we understand with the new regulations, there's going to be new regulations on personal use licenses as well. So we're hoping that a lot of that ambiguity on how those processes work is going to hopefully go away with the new regulations. But at this point in time, some of these operations are operating under a personal license. They still required for their facilities to meet bylaw as far as zoning bylaw and building bylaw for building safety. But the use itself is not under our control because it's technically not a commercial use, it's for personal use.
If I may, how does taxation work in the industrial area versus taxation in the farming area?
Very differently, and that's a component that concerns me. You know, it's if you have processing and packaging on ALR lands, the taxation would be different than if it was on industrial.
No.
Taxation would be just like Class 1 residential or Class 9 farm. It's based on the district's tax rates and the business multiples that are set by council. So
And
it
it's
would just take
based
the
on-
assessed value multiplied by the tax rate, and that would become the tax for that property.
But more importantly, I think it's based on the actual use rather than the zone that they're in.
So it's the use in the industrial or the use in the agricultural?
Right, so for example, if you had a house in the industrial zone, it would still be taxed as a house. So it's on the use, the only time that there's a little difference there is on the farm. The real question's gonna be, is if it's a crop, and it's deemed a crop in a farm, that's where still the question is coming, will it be taxed as a farm or not? But that's still to come.
All right, and if I may, Dean, if we do the interim use in the industrial, does that allow us a little more control over odors and that kind of containment factor, or scrubbers or whatever?
So the current regulations for full licensing make all those requirements at this point in time. So where there has been issues is around the personal licenses, because they don't carry those higher regulations for scrubbers and so forth in the ventilation system. Excuse me, but the federal licensing for a commercial facility requires those. So some of the production that's been in term, as they're waiting for more licensing flexibility to come, have created those problems. If it's a fully licensed commercial facility, the requirements for the HVAC systems and security are significant.
Thank you.
Councillor Holmes.
Cannabis, it's an allowable crop under the LR right now, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So are there any provincial regulations that require processing of a product, of a crop, an agricultural crop, at a different location, regarding that?
There's no provincial regulations at this point around that.
So for any crop, you can process it at a different location than where you grow it?
No, because it's actually not just any crop at this point in time. Although the ALC regulations recognize it as a crop, it's still a controlled substance. So you can't just go into your back 40 and seed it in marijuana. You have to get a license from the federal government to do that component in some form, whether it's a personal license or a commercial license.
But just back to the first part of that question, another crop, you could. If it wasn't marijuana, yes, you could separate it. So right now, it's a controlled product, but it may not be a controlled product, and that's where the question's going to be. Is that correct?
So right now, under this bylaw, somebody couldn't grow the marijuana in a different location and then take it to the production facility in the industrial area and process it?
You can't right now.
You can't?
By federal law, you can't.
Okay, so...
And that's part of the problem, because you might want to say, like, they may split it out. So they may ultimately split it out, and then we may end up saying it's okay to grow marijuana on an agricultural crop, but the production facilities must be in an industrial zone, something like that. So those are what we're waiting for.
But so the only way, if we pass this bylaw, the only way anybody can follow the bylaw is if they grow it in the industrial area as well?
Right now, they have to grow and produce all the same place. That's the only way, even with personal, that's the only way they can do it.
Right, so what we're saying in the bylaw is that you have to do all that in the industrial area?
At this point in time.
Okay. Good. Just another question. I've been to, I've been down to Dale Meadows and wherever, and the smell is, let's face it, it's horrendous. And what I would like someone to be able to tell me is what actually causes the smell? Is it the growing, or is it the processing aspect of the operations?
In that particular circumstance, it's the greenhouses, it's growing, and it's the ventilation scrubbing systems. So there's filters that you can install in the systems to reduce the amount of smell that's emanated from the greenhouse. When it's under a personal license, there is no regulation on that. If you were to go to a commercial license, you would be required to have those scrubbers that reduce the odor emissions. But under a personal license, you're not required to do that. So that's where it becomes a bit of an issue, because those personal licenses being consolidated in one location can really create quite a few plants and create that issue.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think that's the
concern.
The concern, the bottom line is people just don't want this smell, and I don't think can be considered an acceptable farm smell. I think, you know, people want us to do whatever we need to do so they don't have to smell that, I think, and this might be the first step.
Yeah, Councillor Boot?
Thank you. My first question was exactly as Doug's was, and we got that answered. And my second question follows up on what Doug is talking about. If we could use the example, because it's come up already tonight, of the operation on Dale Meadows Road, and perhaps the one off of Simpson as well, the odor is the problem. Right now, those operations have medical, commercial licenses? No.
Personal.
What? Personal.
That have been conglomerated together.
Okay, so, thank you, thank you. So, if, for example, the operation on Dale Meadows Road decides, and we've heard that this is something that they're considering, decides to expand to a medical operation, does that automatically mean that they will be moving into the commercial realm? What is it that distinguishes somebody from growing for multiple people from a commercial operation?
That's a good question. So the difference being is it's production for specific individuals, moving to a commercial facility where people can be distributed to anybody that applies for it, as long as they have a
the medical, right, prescription. So
requirements, documents required to see that. So as they're in a personal license right now, there is no regulation around climate control or odor admittance. They have indicated that they've applied for their license, and that was quite some time ago. So they're anticipating their license coming soon, we understand. They would then, their facility that they would apply for a building permit to build would fall under those new federal, not new for them, under those federal regulations around odor control and security.
Because they would be considered a commercial operation then. And so ideally, that would mean that the odor issue would disappear, correct?
I don't know about disappear, but they would fall under
Be
the
minimized,
regulations. They
at
would fall
least?
under the higher regulations for control.
I think there are facilities out there that do not have odor control. There is technology, from what I understand, that if they're built to that standard. But that, I think we're jumping ahead of ourselves at this point in time, because that we're just waiting for so much more information. And
Yeah.
I think you'll see that at each council meeting now, coming up in the next 2 months, you'll be getting little pieces of new information.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand the difference between what exists now and what is meant by the commercial
I think Councillor
production.
Booth, what we're looking at is we're in such an interim location in terms of information and regulation that we're probably going to be in a position of not doing much about that type of operation for now. And what we have in front of us is, despite my comments earlier, is a good attempt or first step to sort of provide interim controls until we have more regulations and more understandings from ALC and so on. So I think maybe time to move on and do what we're doing right now, knowing full well that there's an awful lot more in the way of regulations, both federally and provincially, to come at us, and this will help us out in the interim. Councillor Carlson?
Just a comment then. So if we are to refer this to the Advisory Planning Commission to have a look and conversation about it, does the APC, like, have they got more information as well on cannabis, and will there be more conversation with them regarding what's going to happen within our community and feedback from the APC? Is this the first time this has gone to them, or will there be more?
This will be the first time that it's going to them, and they'll basically hear the same information that council's heard, maybe a little bit more detailed. Then it'll come back as a proposed bylaw to council. they will have to stay apprised as well.
Over the next few months.
Over the next few months, and we'll have to do it in tandem as we move.
I think that's very important, and I think that's a good way to be getting proper input. So I would like to move that the following proposed zoning bylaw amendments for licensed marijuana production be referred to the district's APC. And as you see in 11.5, it's A and B as presented.
Okay. Seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. CAO?
We'll turn this one over to Ms. Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm bringing forward a request from the Summerland Minor Fastball Association, who are looking for permission for RV parking in the Dale Meadows parking lot for their upcoming 2018 Fast Pitch tournaments on the weekends of May 5th and 6th, May 12th and 13th, and September 15th and 16th. These particular weekends, Peach Orchard Campground is not open or operational. They're looking for about 4 to 5 spaces for RVs per weekend. And staff is recommending that if council does approve this request, that the RVs are to be lined up along the northwest section of the parking lot to minimize impact on tournament parking, as well as soccer parking, which may be taking place at the same time. So with that, I am looking for council direction to either approve or deny the request, as well as any fees you may want to associate with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council? Councillor Peak?
Can I bring the resolution forward and
Go
we
ahead.
can have some
Yep.
discussion? So the resolution as stated, that we approve the Summerland Minor Fastball Association's request for overnight RV parking in the Dale Meadows parking lot on May 5, 6, 12, 13th, and September 15, 16, 2018.
Seconder, please. Councillor Boot, thank you. Yeah,
And
the
may I
only-
speak to it?
Yeah, go ahead.
From reading the report, there were difficulties in the past year about where the RVs park because it restricts the amount of parking there for the soccer and whatever. So is it staff's feeling if we do this restriction to where they park, that would solve it, and we'll see how it moves forward?
That is correct. They were random throughout the parking lot, no structure to it, and we did get some complaints from...
I was there. It was difficult to park.
So we feel that this would help with the issue.
Councillor Carlson?
What would happen if they actually get 8 to 10 RVs on them per weekend instead of 4 to 5 as suggested in this document? Is there room for that, and would it become problematic?
I think we could manage it 4 to 5 if they're lined up properly, and if they keep any additional ones to the side. I don't think it should be a major issue. We don't know what the soccer demands are yet. They haven't booked the field, so but as long as they're lining them up together, I think that will really help.
Councillor Barco?
Yeah, Ms. Mullen brings up something I hadn't considered when I read the report. It was about the fees. And it would seem that on the one hand, fees are appropriate, but on the other hand, it seems like it would be a hassle to collect them. Do you have a recommendation there?
I did look to see if there was any standard fee for RV parking in the parking lots, and the only thing that I could find was for the dog show. So you do approve RV parking for the dog show that happens, I believe, in September. However, they're renting the facility for about $2,000 for the days that they're there, and they have parking at an additional $4 per unit to their contract. The rodeo grounds also, if you book the entire facility at the rodeo grounds, there's a $4 per unit fee for RV parking there as well, but they're also paying a fee. With this particular tournament, or these particular tournaments, there are no fees associated because it is a minor sport.
Theoretically, it should be in your fees and charges bylaw. If you're going to charge a fee, you shouldn't charge it. I mean, you can do a lease or something, but to actually charge an entrance fee or a fee, you would have to get it into the fees and charges bylaw first.
Councillor Peak?
Is this an instance then where we might, if we pass it this time, that we would monitor how it went? I'm wondering whether there's an opportunity that the Peach Orchard Campground could be opened earlier. I'm not quite clear how that all works because we have an agreement there, but that may be an option if it came about that there were many more people with RVs than we could accommodate in this particular manner. So monitoring it might be part of what we do.
Certainly, we could do that. I think it would depend on how many, for 4 to 5 units. I don't know if that would be desirable for the campground, but I could definitely talk to the campground operator after we see how many people come up.
That's a, good point. My concern, until I read it properly, was that are we doing the campground out of money, by doing this? And because they're not open, no, we're not. But I'm sure we'd have to have the numbers to make it worthwhile for them to have staff and to have it open, so.
It is something that council would want to monitor closely, though, because it's one of those slippery slopes of what you open up and allow.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay. CAO 12.2. Transit.
We'll turn that over to Angelique. We'll just speak briefly on this this concept for a proposed route from up the valley to Kelowna.
Thank you. As you are all aware, the Transit Future Plan of 2015 was one of the biggest consultations done in the South Okanagan, looking at the future of transit as a regional program. This recommendation is to move forward on an expansion from Penticton to Kelowna, and the attached fees that are delineated are very high level at this point, but essentially a peak hours trip, round trip to Kelowna twice a day would cost the entire region approximately $156,000, and it would cost Summerland approximately $21,000. These charges are dependent on the entire region participating, and so they will fluctuate as that decision is made going forward.
And just for a little clarity, what they're looking at doing is starting a regional service at regional district. So taxation for that would be through the regional district on the requisition to regional district. So we're actually just indicating general support at this point in time. It would then have to go through the whole process of service creation, which includes an alternative approval process, elector assent, basically, if they were going to move forward. But they need to know that council's fundamentally in favor of it before they start moving forward. And they have good support from other municipalities.
Councillor Carlson.
I support it. I support it.
Waiting for the rest of the sentence.
I think it's been far too long, and the only missing link is Summerland, Peachland. And so if getting Penticton to West Kelowna is going to fix that, then I would.
Okay, are you bringing that motion forward then?
I can bring forward the motion.
Okay.
Or just if you're stating opinion, you should bring it forward.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
There's not much else to say, so I guess I'll bring 12.2 forward.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Boot, thank you. Yeah, this was discussed at the Regional District Board table the other day and received full support of the sitting directors from the various municipalities and so on. So it's something we're looking forward to. Councillor Barton.
Do we have any idea of what ridership would be? Do they make projections along with the cost projections?
The Southern Okanagan Transit Working Group consists of representation of staff from all the different municipalities. It also includes Peachland and West Kelowna. It is projected to also include both Okanagan College and UBC Okanagan. And we know that following Vernon's introduction of a service to Kelowna, what they thought was going to happen was primarily students would be using the buses, but they found an enormous number of additional riders joined in once they had the availability of a trip to Kelowna So it's anticipated that if we are working with the student bodies as well as making trips available for people who are typically right now not able to get to Kelowna for specialist appointments, we expect there will be a very strong demand.
So no specific numbers in a business plan or anything?
I mean, the Transit Future Plan interviewed more than 2,000 people, but in an area of the regional district that has many more than that, it is difficult to say. There's no projection of direct numbers.
Would this connect with, like, a big problem is that you want to go to Vancouver, the Greyhound stops in West Kelowna, and I presume that they would try and tie in with that Greyhound ride.
The objective right now is to get people all the way into Kelowna, but it's recognized that there's a very prime location in West Kelowna by the Buckerfields. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
But lots more to come.
Yeah. Councillor Holmes and Councillor Peak.
So where would the end point be in Kelowna? Downtown Kelowna?
There's a whole consultation process that's yet to roll out, which would be trying to measure where the trips should go to. But in order for BC Transit to begin that process, they need to know if there's an agreement in principle to move forward on an expansion.
Right. But so would there, I mean, I would think it'd be quite a bit cheaper if they just went to West Kelowna, because there's quite a bit of buses going from West Kelowna.
That is the
into
plan.
Kelowna.
That is the
Oh.
plan. It's just the scheduling, so that's the transfer point is in West Kelowna.
Oh, okay.
And then it's with just what other modifications they have to do once you transfer at West Kelowna.
Right, I see. Okay, thanks. And one other thing, do we know where the bus would stop in Summerland? No.
Pretty sure.
Not yet.
And would there be an opportunity for a stop in Trout Creek?
All to be determined, all part of the public consultation, for sure. And good
Sounds
notes
great
to add.
then.
Yeah.
Councillor Peak?
I think this is a great opportunity. I think it's like we're all growing up together, and to connect the valley is a very important part of that. So by all means, let's do it.
Precursor to a bullet train. Okay, we've had a mover and seconder. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, 12.3.
Mr. Denninger.
Mr. Denninger.
So this is a recommendation from staff to allow the Summerland Rotary to store a 10 by 20 shipping container next to the arena, which you can see on the last page of the report. It's about the size of a truck. It's used to store materials related to the Summerland Sunday Market downtown. Every year, it's been quite successful. They've just no longer got a location downtown where they can store it due to some planned construction in the old location, so they're requesting the district's assistance with finding a location for the summer months.
Councillor Carlson, Holmes, Peak.
Well, I was going to move the motion. Go ahead. Ask your question.
Okay, did we have a mover and
Then you
seconder?
can move it.
If she moves it, I'll second it.
Okay, go ahead, yeah. Councillor Holmes, you're speaking.
How was that location determined?
It was a location requested by them. We did propose some other locations that were looked at by staff and talked about with them. This was the least obtrusive location in that area.
Okay, does it take away any parking spaces, or can you just park around it?
You can park around it. We looked at the location in person. We may actually be able to tuck it onto some lawn that's actually there. So it'll have no significant impact, if any, on parking.
Okay, thanks.
The issue on these is that, not to extend this too long, but it's fundamentally a grant in aid. You're fundamentally providing an organization with a service that you're not charging for. So it's a fair request, but it's very difficult when you look at these in one-off situations, because fundamentally that's what it is you're
Yeah.
waiving their fees for something that would typically, and you would, in this case, we don't have other requests, but it'll be difficult. We did turn one down about a year and a half ago when somebody wanted a bin on private land for, on public land for one of those donation things, and they wanted to use a bin on our property. So it's a little bit difficult.
Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, but I don't really look at this as for Rotary. I look at this as for the community. And, you know, it's the Sunday market, you know, it's not really for a specific group, it's for the whole community. So in that sense, I don't think it's a little bit different.
Councillor Peak?
I think of it as economic development. I think it's a good thing. My question is, why is the use only from June to September? What do they do with it? Are they having to move it away in the interim?
They have another location where they move it.
Thank you.
Yeah, they just need it somewhere downtown.
Yes, because you need to get the stuff out and get it onto the main street.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 12.5. Wait, it's down 12.4, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, 12.5.
Mr. Noble?
Mr. Mayor, before you and council is a staff recommendation to renew the mutual aid agreement amongst the 5 municipal fire departments, the 1 improvement district, and the 7 regional district fire departments within the regional district Okanagan-Similkameen. This is a renewal for a 2-year term. The current agreement expired in December of 2017. Typically, these agreements run a 5-year term, but the RDOS is proposing to do a significant amount of research and review of other mutual aid agreements to look at best practices and any modifications that could be made. This is relatively a very old document, and it probably needs a relook. But staff is recommending the renewal for another 2-year term.
Okay, questions, the fire chief? Councillor Peak?
I'll bring it forward
Okay,
and then...
thank you. It's written.
Seconded.
Okay, seconder is Councillor Carlson.
Okay,
Any
so
further
my
discussion?
question may have been answered by what you just said, Glenn. I was wondering what the research and revisions are about, but...
In the report, it identifies 10 items that require a significant amount of further research. Definition of a true mutual aid agreement and what that entails, whether it's a fee for... Mutual aid agreements do not entail a fee for service, but not all fire departments are created equal, and some can provide more assistance and higher levels of assistance than others. And so the review needs to encompass all that, as whether there's what levels of service will be provided in that mutual aid agreement.
So it'll be spelled out in a different way than it may have in the past.
Right now, it's pretty much all-encompassing. It just says we'll all provide each other assistance, and that needs to be revisited and to see if that is the best practice.
It's really, yeah, and it's legal and it's liability, and it's just making sure that it's up to date on those things.
Thank you very much.
Okay, would someone like to bring that forward,
We
please?
did, we seconded.
Pardon me?
We did. I
Oh,
brought
you
it
did?
forward,
Okay.
it was seconded.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay. 12.6.
Mr. Deniger's going to give a brief outline.
Yeah, I am not a landscape professional, so I'm going to let the report mostly speak for itself. You'll see a diagram in Schedule A of the beds around Municipal Hall and a description of the proposed changes to make it a little bit more with the times and the environment.
And it was presented for information.
Yeah, just for information.
Okay. Councillor Carlson.
I will move 12.6 as presented.
Seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you.
And I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
The garden between the high school and the IOOF hall, is that a district one or a school district one?
School district.
It's really cool. I was walking by there the other day, and you don't really notice, and then all of a sudden it's there. So I think that if we can have some signs and some things the way that they've done that to make that look really quite nice, I think it'll be quite good and a good improvement on what's going on out there.
Yeah, the district's landscape crew actually assisted them with the planning of that, and it will be very similar to that.
Thanks. Good idea then.
Okay.
I'm really cheering. I think it'll be a great improvement.
Yep.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Right. The mining, 13.1, who's, that you, CAO?
So, Council, I apologize for this late item. We received just at the end of last week some correspondence from the District of Peachland on an item that they had taken to their council about a proposed mining operation, that there was a application that went forward to the Ministry of Mines for Troubadour Resources to do some mining exploration. When we reviewed the maps of the locations where they're looking to get the licensing, the work falls within the District of Peachland and the District of Summerland's watersheds. And on the application where, of the submission to the ministry, the notice of work, it actually states in here, one question is application area in a community watershed, and the applicants have said no on that. So I haven't had time yet to fully process this and get a full report for council and to contact the ministry and find out why we weren't sent a referral, etc. So I am proposing that I did give you a proposed resolution to get staff to contact the Ministry of Mines in relation to this application, and that council express opposition to this exploration project within the Summerland watershed until you have the opportunity to thoroughly review the information and provide comment. So just to try to slow it to at least know what you're looking at. And then I would, if you are in support of that resolution, I would then follow up and get you complete information and start to contact the ministry.
Maybe I missed it, but what did the notice of work say they were going to do? Just some drilling, some trenching?
Yeah, sorry.
Just drilling.
16 drill holes, trenching, drill water supply, access routes. There are access routes being done. And, yeah, so.
I thought haven't they been given permission to move ahead?
They have been given, they've received their license, and this is notice of work, and that's the problem, is that we need to talk to the ministry. If councils, it's very unusual that any municipality anywhere would let this type of work go on in their watershed without doing a thorough review of exactly what work done. The fact that we did not get a referral is unheard of for this type of work. So that's, I think, I tried to word the proposed resolution such that you may thoroughly review it and then say it's fine, but you need to make a statement that these things need to come to you.
Yeah, for sure. Councillor Carlson?
Question then, would the Okanagan Nation have more information on this? Have they been consulted? Is that something that we...
In the paperwork that I've got...
someone that we need to be communicating with as well, because that would be a great ally to...
We wouldn't, but in here, they do talk about, like I said, I haven't even had time. Okanagan Nation Alliance, Okanagan Indian Band, Nicola Tribal Association, West Bank First Nation, all appear to have had engagement. Whether or not that just meant that they were sent letters or there was actual engagement, I don't know.
Okay.
We would find that out in
I would like to bring forward the motion. Do you want me to read this?
Sure.
That staff be directed to contact the Ministry of Mines in relation to the application submitted by Troubadour Resources, Inc., to express concern regarding the potential impact of the Summerland watershed and the absence of notification that the work being proposed is within the municipal watershed. And further, that Summerland Council expresses its opposition to this exploration project within the Summerland watershed until they have had the opportunity to thoroughly review the information and provide comment.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Okay, Counselor Booth.
I just wanted to check, Linda, I believe you said that the permit includes access roads?
Yes.
So those would be like logging roads to access the site?
Potentially building their own?
Yeah. Activities to be undertaken, access roads, rails, helipads, airstrips, and boat ramps.
Woohoo.
Cut
Oh my
lines and
God.
induced polarization surveys, exploration, surface drilling, mechanical trenching, test pits, and water supply.
We better get a response from these.
Is there any environmental assessment or any environmental oversight on
But
this?
I think that's my point, is I haven't had an opportunity
Okay,
yet
sorry.
to look into it. I'll
Yeah,
get
that's
all of the
worrisome.
information I can get once, yeah. We just
Counselor Buck?
received this at the very end of last week.
Counselor Barclay?
It doesn't really sound like that much different than all the forestry activity that goes on in our watershed. But if they're required to notify us and they didn't, I don't think that it should, that should be ignored by any means. There's been a lot of drilling. There's a lot of drilling right beside Eisentalk not so many years ago. I wonder, if that was before my time on council. Do you remember being notified about
I
that?
remember hearing something about it, but I think it's always a concern, especially if we haven't been notified. But apart from that, what's the long-term situation? Are there going to be tailings ponds, et cetera, et cetera?
It concerns me that they're not necessarily following the rules and the
Well, yeah.
regulations right from the very start, if they didn't do the proper notification.
I think we need to go through this and see what's what, because there are far-reaching implications that are probably actually beyond forestry activities. So we've got a mover and seconder, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Thank you, CAO. That's 13.1, moving on to bylaws.
14.1 is an adoption for
Yeah.
5418.
We've got a number of adoptions coming at us, so 14.1 from Mr. Strachan.
No, that's just.
Go ahead, okay. Someone like to bring that forward? Counselor Peak, thank you. Seconder? Counselor Holmes? All in favor?
Present it? No?
It's an adoption.
Okay. All in favor? Carried.
No, you haven't asked opposed.
Okay, opposed?
Always have.
Carried. I know, I usually have to. Okay. Carries. 14.2. 9918 Quinpool for adoption. Counselor Holmes? Mover? Seconder, please. Counselor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 14.3. This is for adoption as well. Mover, please. Counselor Carlson?
I'll move.
Second.
Do we need to read it or not? No, we're not reading them? today?
As presented, it's okay.
14.3 for 401 Highway 40, third and fourth, third and adoption.
Third time adoption. Seconder, Counselor Peak?
So this was the one that we had the public
public hearing
hearing
today,
today.
this evening.
So you would.
Agricultural land.
Right, so if you do want to bring it forward, which Councillor
Yes.
Carlson just brought
I'm
it
bringing it
forward.
forward.
Okay, we got a seconder. Yes, Counselor Peak. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you.
This one was a little,
14.4.
just so you know, normally we need that MOT permission in between, so that's why there's usually third and adoption aren't usually together, but we didn't need a MOT
okay.
on this one, that's why it was bundled like that.
That's
Yeah.
sort of what I was
Yeah,
wondering.
yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
Sorry. Okay, 14.4, parcel tax bylaw. Just bringing that. CFO?
Yep. So at 6:30 today, the parcel tax roll review panel met in this room to authenticate the parcel tax roll, specific to the 5 properties identified in the attached bylaw. There were no concerns noted, and there was no correspondence received. So this bylaw is ready to move forward.
Thank you. Mover, please.
I will move that
Carlson.
parcel tax Mountain View Growers bylaw 2018-006 be introduced and read a first and second time, and it be read a third time. Can we do it all at once? Yes.
Seconder, Counselor Peak, thank you. Any discussion at all? I think it just moves ahead. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. CFO, 14.5.
Well, this
or-
one's adoption as well,
Okay,
unless
yeah.
you want any further conversation. Council passed 3 readings.
That's true.
Last council meeting.
Counselor Carlson?
I'll move financial plan 2018-2022 bylaw, well, that sounds like a long time from now. Bylaw number 2018-007 be adopted.
Seconder, please. Counselor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Seems like a long ways, but it
That's a long time from now.
isn't really.
Lot of work.
Okay, 14.6, Mr. Strachan.
So this is the previous application that council received, and this is bringing forward the bylaw for first and second readings to amend the OCP from agricultural to rural residential, to rezone from A1 agricultural small holding to country residential, as well as to request council to schedule a public hearing for May 14th. And this is the fourth item, is the unusual one with this application, which is our zoning bylaw has a provision that allows for reduced minimal parcel size. So council will remember that this is the one that has the ALR component to it, where the ALC asked the council allow this provision instead of artificially making the parcel meet the minimum parcel size. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, questions of the planner, please. Counselor Peak.
I'll bring the resolution forward as stated.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, please. Counselor Holmes. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to councilor reports. Counselor Barclay.
Nothing to report this week.
Plus there. Counselor Booth.
Not much to report this week. I just wanted to suggest to the other councillors that if they haven't seen the river film yet, to catch, it's being shown all over the place. Be sure to catch it. It's very, very interesting about the Okanagan River, and it talks about all kinds of impacts. It's kind of like the rise and fall of Okanagan River and how it impacts spawning beds and infrastructure and private property. It's really very interesting. And it also includes our relationship with the Okanagan as we cross the border and into the United States, and the way that they're working so collaboratively with we Canadians. It's a really good film. It's not very long, but it's really good.
Excellent. Counselor Cross.
I don't have much to report. It's nice to be home, and there's a lot of meetings in April and May and events to attend, so I'm looking forward to participating.
Counselor Holmes.
Just a couple things. I attended the Rec Commission meeting last Thursday. We had quite a robust discussion on allocating court times and fees for the pickleball club, which I'll probably be coming to council next meeting, I would assume. We also reviewed the Rec Master Plan timelines, and the key date, I believe, is the public open house was being planned for May 9th. So that's something we'll all want to attend. And I'd also like to just let council know that the Summerland Refugee Sponsorship Group has received its charitable status. We're now a registered charity, which will help us raise funds. And also, within days of each other, also heard the news of the scheduled arrival date for our next refugee family from Eritrea. They'll be arriving on May 8th, so they'll be here just in time for the Rec Master Plan public open house, which I'm sure they'll be very excited.
We all ready to attend.
Mr. Mayor?
Is that going to be one of their conditions of arrival? Councillor
Is-
Peak?
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
Am I able to ask Councillor Holmes about a question? A question
Go right
about
ahead.
your discussion with the rec master plan. Did you talk about the concerns with the erosion from the rainfall on the Giant's Head grind route?
Not on the last meeting, we only talked about timelines. The commission itself has a steering committee, which I'm not part of, but there's a steering committee which has been going through, working with Lori on the rec master plan, and they would have maybe probably reviewed that, I don't know.
And that has started to go through the process. She's forwarding it to bench consulting first of all, and it is
Thank
in
you.
the hopper from the comments that we received.
Good. It's quite a mess.
Yeah, that she was aware of that too.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll get a time and place for the rec master plan presentation on May 9th.
Yeah, I guess it's good. Lori, it's too bad Lori just leaked out there, so.
That's okay.
Yeah, it'll come, something will come to council before the open house.
Yeah, sure.
Good. Thank you very much, Doug. Yes, a reception for the Board of Okanagan College Governors was an excellent event. I also attended the Affordable Housing Forum in Penticton, and there was lots of detail in the presentations. It was extremely well done, and several organizations from Summerland attended that. I also attended a poverty reduction strategy put on by the province, and a signage presentation to the Cultural Committee, which there were some good comments received at. And I also attended the Trail of the Okanagan Committee.
Thank you. Is there any member of the public that would like to make any comments? Come forward.
There's nobody left.
None left. John, any comments? Okay, we have a motion.
Yeah,
There's
we
two
have
press
some.
here.
Okay. Okay.
Dale from the Penticton Herald,
That's right.
Southern United Coast. Yeah, I know you guys probably don't want to talk about the skate park, but I just wanted to get what the final amount the district's putting in is on there.
I can't remember that off the top of my head. I can pull it up though.
That was no.
Yeah, we can send it to you.
Yeah, if you phone me tomorrow, I can give you that number.
Sorry about that, of overlooking you there. Anything else you'd like to ask?
No, those are good.
Okay, could I have a motion for adjournment? Councillor Peak? Councillor Booth, thank you. All in favor? Carried, thank you.